Rodgers certainly a storyline, but CC, to me, one of the most interesting storylines here is the head coach in Mike Tomlin. I would say that on our show, the three of us, rightfully so, can be accused of being three members of the Mike Tomlin fan club. I said months ago that if I were Aaron Rodgers and I had an offer from the Pittsburgh Steelers and I knew Russell Wilson was not coming back and Justin Fields was not coming back, meaning the job was mine if I wanted it, I would have walked to Pittsburgh and played for free.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. That's for sure. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. Mike Tomlin is a first ballot Hall of Fame coach, in my opinion and your opinion. Mike Tomlin can coach my team any day of the week. Pro, college, high school. The Knicks should look at him right now. Like, that's how great I think of a leader of men that this man is. And I think he's going to have the first losing season of his career this year. I just don't see how this works. And there's a lot of parts of this roster I like. I just don't see how this works. Do you?
No, I don't. I don't see how it works. Here's the issue that I have with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't have an identity on the offensive side of the ball. And they're bringing in a guy in Aaron Rodgers that usually brings his luggage with him when it comes to what his offense looks like. Now, they're not going to afford him that privilege. He's not bringing in Randall Cobb. He's not bringing in Nathaniel Hackett. He's not bringing in Billy Turner. Alan Lazard ain't coming with him. So this is going to be a departure from that. And I wonder, for a player that has tried to curate his comfort at this stage in his career, not having things set up the exact way that he wants it, I don't know if it's going to lend itself to this offense, that unit being able to get off to the fastest of starts. And if you're in a posture, if you're in a situation where it takes you a month and a half to find your footing, find your flow as an offense, at that point, is it too late for your season? It felt like that for the New York Jets last year, and everything was set up the exact way that Aaron Rodgers wants it. How's that going to work in Pittsburgh? I have my doubts. I'm highly skeptical of it. And here's the other thing, because we were making the Brett Favre comparison in terms of, Aaron Rodgers having that, that renaissance after the second stop didn't necessarily go as well with the New York Jets. Brett Favre signed with the Minnesota Vikings midway through August. So they're in the middle of training camp. But the reason why he signed so late is because, if you remember, he was injured at the end of that regular season with the New York Jets. I want to say it was 2008. He was hurt.
Yeah.
And he ended up having to have surgery to repair a biceps tendon. And in that procedure, they found out he had a slight tear in his rotator cuff, which is why he retired a second time. But he said that throughout the summer, after throwing down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, he started feeling better, and he thought that it was possible that he could come back and play. So that's why the timeline was off in terms of when Brett Favre decided to join the Minnesota Vikings. What's the excuse for Aaron Rodgers in terms of why he waited so late to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
It seems like there was a personal issue, but everybody was reporting basically the Steelers are nothing here. Now, here's the interesting thing also. Let's just do devil's advocate for you and I for a second. Is there an argument that maybe for the first time in Aaron Rodgers' career, someone telling him fully no could get the best out of him? And I guess the counter to the counter is, have they actually told him no because they're abiding by everything he's asked for already in terms of when he signs, etc. But Mike Tomlin's not going to let him do everything he wants. Nathaniel Hackett's not going to be on Mike Tomlin's staff.
No.
Is there a counter to what we're saying in that maybe Tomlin, being the hard-nosed coach and saying, no, Aaron, this is how we do things, you're either in or you're out, could be the best version of Aaron Rodgers? Or have you already seen enough to say, well, that ain't happening? He just signed today, basically. So you're out on the idea that this is somebody saying no to him.
Who has dictated the terms of this relationship?
Aaron Rodgers.
The Steelers or Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers, not even.
Okay, so why would I think that was going to change?
I know. You're right. And this squarely puts
the Steelers need Aaron Rodgers way more than Aaron Rodgers needs the Steelers. Because Aaron Rodgers can take his ball, go home, and walk in the Canton 5 years from now. One of the greatest to ever do it. Nobody can take that away from him.
Should be unanimous.
No matter what you think about his views, his ideas, or whatever, how he's handled it. He's one of the greatest people to pick up a football and throw it.
100%. 100%. If you don't vote for him, if you're a voter for the Hall of Fame and you don't vote for him, it's personal and it's wrong. He should be a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer easily. But this squarely puts the attention on Mike Tomlin now, because it seems like he was the one that allowed for all of these avenues for Rodgers to wait and wait and wait. Brooke Pryor, ESPN NFL Nation Steelers reporter, joined us on March 11th and discussed the Steelers fans and how they view Mike Tomlin.
I would say no. I think that's also when you've been with someone for as many years as these fans have been with Mike Tomlin, 2 decades. There's a lot of frustration that's built up, and it's what have you done for me lately? And for them, just getting to the playoffs lately is not enough. You can point to the Super Bowl and you can point to the early career success, but that's not enough for these fans, and particularly the younger fans who maybe don't remember the good times, that all they see are squandered opportunities.
So she was asked the question by us as to whether or not the majority of the Steelers fans actually want Mike Tomlin as their head coach. That's how she set it up there with, I would say, no. When you're looking at the post-Roethlisberger years, whether it's Mitch Trubisky, Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph, a little bit lesser on Russell Wilson and Fields, all of those guys can be attributed to the front office, not going out and getting Tomlin a quarterback. This one feels like they had to say to Mike Tomlin, is this who you want? Yes, this is who I want. Or he said to them, this is who I want.
Well, here's what I will say. I believe it's the latter. I believe this is Mike Tomlin saying, this is who I want. I want a veteran quarterback option, somebody that I trust in those critical moments of the game can make the right plays. I believe that this is a Mike Tomlin-led decision, not a front office-led decision, not an ownership-led decision, which is why Mike Tomlin is culpable in anything that happens to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just like I put them losing the final 5 games of the season on Mike Tomlin last year. Just like I put the departure of free agent quarterback Justin Fields on Mike Tomlin this offseason. How he handled the quarterbacks last year led to the undoing of that team and led to the quarterback that they prioritized this offseason choosing to go to the New York Jets rather than staying in Pittsburgh. And let that sink in for a moment. You had a quarterback in Justin Fields who was a failed first rounder with the Chicago Bears, decide that he was better off going to the upstart New York Jets with an unknown quantity in Aaron Glenn as his head coach, rather than stay in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin. This whole perception about the culture, the Pittsburgh Steelers being one of the most functional franchises in the NFL, that's got to go away. I brought up this point yesterday, but it bears repeating. Since 2009, the Pittsburgh Steelers have exactly one more playoff win than the New York Jets.
Wild.
That's where they're at. This is who they are.
Do you expect?
And they're so desperate that they're willing to get in bed with a washed-up Aaron Rodgers who hasn't been good at football in 3 seasons. That's where the Pittsburgh Steelers, actually 4 seasons now, that's where the Pittsburgh Steelers are at. And then, oh, by the way, for good measure, they have the 10th toughest schedule in 2025. How does this end up adding up to success for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the way of playoff wins? It doesn't.
Very quickly, do you think this could be Mike Tomlin's last year in Pittsburgh? We'll answer that coming up. We're on Sportsman Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance.